Hello everyone, it's Fred here from Hillians Bricks, and in today's video I'm going to talk about 10 steps in terms of Lego investing. So I've been running Hillians Bricks for over 2 years and been doing a brickling store and Lego investing for the past 2 years. And many of you might have read articles, Lego investing is better than gold and this is the way forward. Well, it's not always the case, and I've kind of outlined in 10 steps what my journey was like in Lego investing and the kind of key steps that you need to understand and take into consideration. So here's my presentation that I've prepared to discuss these steps. So let's get started. So here we go in terms of Lego investing. Before we get started, just remember that I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that. So these points are purely based on my experiences, my opinions, and therefore, you need to make sure that you keep that in mind. So first step we're going to see is these are the kind of 10 steps that we're going to be talking about. So, talking about from where to sell, knowing your market, the Lego themes, pricing and timing, money management, storage solutions, having your own judgment, continue to learn, have a plan B, and then ultimately going to check if it's really worthwhile doing. So let's get started with number one is where to sell. Now, for me, this was quite a big surprise when we talk to lots of people on my Discord server is lots of people start buying Lego without actually having a plan on where they plan on selling the Lego. And buying Lego is quite easy. Selling Lego is not always the easiest, right? So there's lots of marketplaces out there where you can sell. And, there's all different advantages and disadvantages to every single one of them. So clearly Amazon and eBay are the most popular ones. You do need to go through an ungating process for Amazon, which can be quite complicated and cumbersome, and they can kick you off quite easily as well. There are high fees. You're talking 15 to 20% range for the fees for these services, these platforms, but they do tend to have a higher pricing and therefore a better ROI. And the visibility that lots of more customers use these platforms. Then you have other platforms like Bricklink and Brickowl. These are more obscure and only the regular Lego users tend to be aware of these platforms. You do have much lower fees, and mostly the customers tend to be quite good. You do have less issues, I find, with Bricklink customers, but it's less visibility. And then there's other places like Facebook Marketplace, which have the advantage of having no fees whatsoever. But you will find there's lots of time wasters. The amount of times I've had UPS scam messages on there as well. I personally don't sell on Marketplace if I can avoid to. But it can be good for some local listings if you're looking for that. And then there's other platforms out there like StockX, or go into local Lego events and festivals and have like a little stand or a table there with sets for sale. That's another opportunity. Or even have your own website over time. So yeah, those are all the different avenues of selling Lego. So that's something you have to consider on which avenue are you planning on selling your Lego through. Next step is number 2, and it's know your market. And this might seem quite obvious, but you need to know where to buy, and understand how widely are the sets distributed. Is this a Lego exclusive set? Is it perhaps exclusive just to one retailer? Or do you see this in every single retailer, every single supermarket, and therefore it's available widely and lots of sets are out there? And from the same aspect is, do you see the set often on discount? Is it never discounted? And that will ultimately have an impact as well down the line in terms of your investment potential. Also keep an eye on Lego. Is a set consistently out of stock, which likely means it's either on very high demand or they've got some production issues. But is it also hard to find in stores? These all are kind of signals that you need to be looking out for. One thing I learned quite early on, and kind of the reason why I started this YouTube channel as well from a UK perspective, is that there's lots of differences between markets. Certain themes and sets might do quite well on this side of the pond, and another side might be worthwhile in other areas. So there are very different scenarios compared to other countries. So it's not because you watch someone from YouTube across the world that it might have the same impact over here, because clearly it depends on what their market conditions are over there. So keep bearing that in mind as well. Number 3, and we are talking about Lego themes. Now, clearly lots of people have their favorite Lego themes when it comes from an investment perspective. But I would say it's don't be blindsided by just by the Lego themes. Now, what I mean by that is we've kind of have like three buckets that we're looking at from Lego themes investing. So we got the bucket of items to avoid, the ones where we have price opportunities, and the ones which can be seen as solid bets. So if we look in terms of avoiding, we are definitely going to be avoiding certain themes. I personally avoid things like dots. Lego Friends is always discounted 30-40%, but I feel that the user base to buy a premium is not there yet. Video, there's also things like Lego Art I've kind of avoided for now. And a few others like here. I also personally avoid Duplo because I don't know much about it. I know that, for example, in the US, that might be more of an opportunity, but certain themes, I just don't even bother looking at it. So then there's other themes. I look at it from a price opportunity. So these are usually themes that I would consider that I might avoid, but when the price is right, some great opportunities can present themselves. And these are like themes like Ninjago, Lego City, even a Creator 3-in-1. And I am going to create a video at some point in the near future where I'm going to highlight some of my best, return on investments from a Lego investing perspective. And it's often these sets that are my biggest winners. It's usually when I find a deal like 40-50% off for a decent set, I buy it. And then once it retires, sometimes, you triple your money quite easily. Because if you buy it at the right price, it doesn't have to appreciate too much for you to make a good return on investment upon retirement. So that's definitely some themes you can't always just ignore. And then there are the themes from a solid bet where, lots of people will be looking at, you have your Star Wars, your Marvel, your Lego IDs and icons as well. Those will tend to be the popular choices. And because there are big fan bases, lots of people who kind of like these, sometimes these themes, and people want to buy these sets in the future as well. But please note that not all the sets are going to be winners, right? There are going to be some absolute dogs as well in there that you need to keep your eye out for and make sure you make the right choices. And keep an eye on anything for new releases as well. If a set gets re-released, that could have an impact on the future value. But yeah, just be aware that lots of people are probably going to be betting on those same themes as well. So you might see some impact on that from in the future. Number 4, and number 4 is all about pricing and timing. Now, let's talk about pricing first. For me, I'm a procurement manager in my full-time job. I don't do this as a full-time job, by the way. But for me, buying at the right price is critical for success in Lego investing. You got to maximize all the discounts you can get, the cash back, any gift or purchase as much as possible. All the time, just look for the best value you can get. Because if you want to buy exclusive Lego set from Lego website, make sure you only do it when they have special promotions on like double VIP points or, special gift or purchase, which I think are high value, because you have those limits on the Lego website that you can only order a certain amount of. Make sure you only do it at the right time. Remember, the cheaper you buy, the quicker you will achieve your return on investment target upon retirement versus someone else who bought it at a higher price. Because when it comes to selling, you're ultimately in competition with other Lego investors, and the aim is to try and turn over your cash as soon as possible, make that profit so you can reinvest it into another set, right? So if you have bought it at a higher price compared to somebody else and you're both looking for a similar return on investment, guess what? You'll have to wait longer than the other person. So this is something you have to bear in mind. So pricing is very, very important in my opinion. Then it comes to the timing side. So you need to understand really how long the sets have been on the shelf and how long do they plan to be on the shelf. So there are, websites out there with rumored retirement lists. Now, these are not always 100% accurate, but often they are about 80 to 85% accurate when they come out. So you can kind of see which sets are due for retirement and start planning around there. Make sure you try and buy as close as possible to retirement to avoid holding, the sets for way too long, because when your cash is tied up, it limits you from investing into other opportunities that might present themselves in the future. Now, there's always that balance where you have to find sometimes you see a really good deal, but it's not going to retire for quite a while. Then you have to weigh up that thing yourself where, well, I want to buy at the right price and I'm happy to sit on it. Or no, I'm going to keep that cash and then buy something else because I feel that there's going to be other opportunities presenting themselves for other sets that are going to be retiring sooner. So the one thing you also now have to bear in mind with the current environment is, like, especially since last year, we have seen Lego start doing some price increases. Now, if you buy some sets before the price increase, and then it happens to go increase afterwards, but it still gets delayed, you obviously have that benefit and kind of prevents you against inflation as well by having bought before a price increase. So again, that's another aspect you need to think about. So yeah, pricing and timing is very critical in my opinion in this Lego investing journey. Number five is all about money management. And it astounds me when I talk to people on the Discord server how many people don't really pay much attention or have a true understanding of this, and they feel like I'm just going to buy and sell some Lego and that's it. But you really need to think about this with a business mindset, in my opinion, and think long term, not short termism. So when we talk about money management, cash is king, right? So you got to manage your cash flow essentially, because when your money is tied up in Lego, these are physical goods. It is, you know, affecting your ability to invest into other things at the time, right? So you got to be aware of that. There's also a thing called fear of missing out, and I'm going to talk about that later. And I personally find it's very addictive to buy Lego, and buying Lego is very easy. There's so many avenues to get Lego, but the selling side is what people often underestimate. And it comes back to, you know, my first point about having a plan on where you're going to sell. But if you have a fear of missing out and you're kind of jumping on the bandwagon on other people, it often leads to bad decisions. And then finally, you got to manage risk and debt. So be smart with your decisions. See this as a side hustle. At least that's how I look at it. Don't go and leverage yourself up to, you know, invest into Lego. You know, I've seen people out there recommending, you know, you remortgage and you got to do whatever. I don't think that's sensible. You want to make sure you see this as Lego investing, not as Lego gambling, right? So be smart with your money. You don't go overstretch yourself and kind of make the Lego earn its money to then reinvest and grow it at a sustainable level. That would be my recommendation. But remember, I'm not a financial advisor, but be sensible is my approach to things. Point number 6, and we're talking about storage solutions. So yes, unfortunately, Lego does take space. It's a physical asset. And from that perspective, you need to try and keep them in prime condition. Now, I do want to emphasize, a lot of people seem to be overly obsessed with having the boxes in prime condition. Some scratches or little dents do not always matter too much, depending clearly on the price point of the set that you're investing in. But I've often seen so many people are so obsessed with the condition of the box that they will jeopardize their, you know, their account with Lego, because if Lego gets too many returns of you, they are likely going to put you on the stop list and you're not going to be able to buy from Lego anymore. And you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be put any flags on. Sometimes you might just have to sell something at cost or something, or try and flog it another way. But yeah, you do have to have some storage and keep it in a good condition, but don't get overly obsessed about it when it doesn't come always in the pristine condition that you get. So consider the space that you have available, whether you want to invest into large, medium, and small sets. You know, I personally have an external storage solution. Now, this is rather costly, but you need to look at it from a long-term investment. And you also need to see what sort of scale of operation you're going to have, right? Do you actually have the value in your inventory to worthwhile invest into an external storage solution? Because you don't want to be, you know, get an external storage solution for, you know, maybe like £5,000 worth of Lego. If it's going to cost you, you know, £1,000 every year to run, you're not necessarily going to see a good return on investment there from your storage solution. I personally found that since I've started this journey about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, that my external storage solution is just about to start paying itself back. What I mean by that is I bought a lot of sets and they started to retire last year, some of them. Now I'm regularly selling Lego every month now from that storage solution, which basically means that it's covering the cost every month that I have to pay for the storage solution. So it's starting to pay for itself, and I still got lots and lots of stuff to list. So now it does take time for that external storage solution to pay for itself. So keep that in mind. Also consider the location of your storage. Make sure that it's a secure facility. You don't want it to get burgled. You also want to make sure it doesn't get flooded or anything like that. Consider it's like on the ground floor, first floor, whatever it is. Will the sets get damaged? And if you're worried about that, make sure you have insurance cover as well. And perhaps you don't want to start doing all the storage and keeping it yourself, or doing all the fulfillment yourself. Then maybe perhaps, you know, Amazon FBA is something for you, but remember that comes with higher fees. And if items don't necessarily sell on the Amazon platform, you might get charged with quite a lot of storage costs through Amazon as well, eating away at your margin. So those are all things you need to start thinking about when it comes to Lego investing. On to the next step, which is step number 7. And this is about having your own judgment. And so many times people seem to try and get shortcuts and ask other people's opinion about things. Now, don't get me wrong, it's the right thing to do to ask for opinions and other people's things. But a lot of people want to be spoon-fed and take other people's words as gospel, right? So you got to do your own research. It's your money at the end of the day. You want to make sure that you're in control, you make the decisions, and you know what you're doing. So it's very easy to look out in there and find the price history, shelf life expectation of sets, the availability. If you do a bit of tracking and put the time into it, you can make a lot of the informed decisions yourself by putting the time and effort in it to do it. Because if you're not going to put the time and effort in it, then you're not going to get the necessarily feedback from people, because, at the end of the day, you're competing in this marketplace as well, right? Make sure you avoid fear of missing out. I've talked about it before, but often hyped up sets are the ones to be avoided. Now, I will have a video coming up of some of the mistakes that I have made in my journey so far. And fear of missing out is often one that actually is a cause of it. Biggest one I can think of is the ATST with Cara Dune. That was a big mistake. I've still got a few of those sets that clearly haven't invested, but that was me just jumping on the bandwagon thinking it was going to go to the moon, but it didn't. So the best sets are often the ones that people don't talk about, the ones that are kept under the radar. Now, the next one you're probably going to think is quite ironic for me being a YouTuber, talking about not listening to YouTubers necessarily, right? Well, I just want to be, transparent and clear. And I think it's important. When people talk a lot about sets on platforms like myself, we do know we have a wider audience, and that can often influence people to kind of follow the people and jump onto the same sets. And guess what? As soon as 1,000 people start buying the same set, it automatically already becomes less of a lucrative set, right? Because it's all about supply and demand. So if you're going to have a lot of supply in there, in the long run, it means you're going to be competing against a lot of people, and you are going to have to wait longer to get your money. So try and find out which sets they don't necessarily talk about much, because those could be the real gems that are out there. I'm pretty sure other Lego YouTubers on here who are in the investing scene, they don't necessarily reveal all their best nuggets out there as well. So, and then finally, make mistakes. Do not be afraid to make some mistakes. Now, make sure that these are not costly mistakes. And maybe when you start out on your journey, you want to start out with, some small scale risk and, be sensible. But sometimes, I started by buying lots of different sets and different themes. And it kind of makes me understand what works, what didn't work, and kind of make your own learnings from that, right? So, and that is kind of steps into nicely into the next step, which point 8 is, it's all about continuous learning. So, one thing since starting Lego I've learned is that there is a huge learning curve when it comes to Lego, right? From Lego themes and, it's what drives Lego pricing and things like that. It forever evolves as well. They come out with new sets, new themes, re-releases, things like that. And keeping up to date, in my opinion, if you want to become a Lego investor, is very, very essential. And it's also very time consuming. You need to be able to fully integrate yourself into the Lego community, trying to keep up with things of what's happening, what's coming out, just to make sure you can make the right decisions. If you're going to buy some Lego sets and put them in a box for like a year or two and then hope they appreciate, and then you don't keep up with the latest news, well, you could find that yourself that a new re-release has already come out and kind of undermines your potential investing value of the sets that you've bought. So always keep up to date. And that kind of goes with, any sort of investing strategy, right? As I mentioned previously, don't be afraid to make mistakes, but learn from them. It is essential to success. I said already, I've made mistakes, and understand what you did wrong and, make some adjustments to avoid happening again. I think I've mentioned earlier already, talking about the financial side, it's important to learn about, discounts, cashback, when can you expect this, but also if you're going to do your own fulfillment, about postage costs, what's the best way to shipping it, who are the most reliable shippers out there, talk about storage solutions. And unfortunately, we also have to pay tax. So those are all the things that you have to embrace. Sometimes you might want to hire an accountant, but sometimes you might want to manage that yourself if you have the capabilities. But, the bookkeeping side is something that's not often talked about, but it's another thing that you need to continue to learn as well. There's a bit of a plug here for my Discord server, but there's other platforms out there as well. It's important to join discussion groups, in my opinion, to share your views with like-minded individuals and ping things off each other. Now, remember that kind of goes against sharing with too many people, because again you have to put it on the radar there, and other people might just jump on the bandwagon. But you often, more than often, you will find that you're actually learning a lot from other people as well by joining some discussion groups. And since I started my Discord server, I've learned a lot of things from other people who are part of the community as well, right? So, and then finally, one thing that surprised me is often people will look to blame somebody else when they made a mistake. You gotta, if you want to be successful in any sort of business, you got to take some accountability, make your own decisions, make your own mistakes, and just learn from them. And you say, okay, hold your hand up, I made this mistake, I'm going to fix it by doing this time and avoid it in the future. So if you're starting to blame, oh well, this was a problem because of this or because of that, you're never going to be successful, in my opinion. So self-reflection is very important. Number 9 is all about planning for a plan B. And what do I mean by that? So already touched upon, damaged boxes and returns. Now, you will have to deal with damaged boxes, and already mentioned it. Sometimes if it's minor dents and things like that, you can still sell it, maybe not for the return of investment that you required it, but I would personally say it's better to try and sell it at a loss than sometimes return it to Lego where you got it from and risk being banned, right? I've had people on the Discord server saying, oh, my account is banned on Lego because, I returned this one set or something. Why would you run the risk of, cutting off the place where you find your Lego sets at, and which kind of helps you make money over time, right? So you can't always win on every single set. So you have to think long term. Me personally, I have a Bricklink store, and it's a great alternative for me. If a set is damaged or something like that, I can just part it out and just add essentially bricks to my store. Now, Bricklink store is another journey where a lot of time is needed. So it's not for everybody, and I understand that people might not be interested in that. But maybe if you join some discussion groups, like I already mentioned, you might have some connection on there with people who have Bricklink stores who live near you and might be interested in buying some of those sets from you at a discounted rate, and at least you get some money back, right? I've had the experience recently of selling something on Amazon, and the customer said that one of the items was damaged and they're going to return it. So that means that the box is opened. I can't do anything about it. Fortunately, I got my Bricklink store, so I can just take those parts and add them to my store. And sometimes you have to adjust your return on investment expectations. You can't necessarily always have the same return on investment for every single set. If you've made some mistakes or some sets are not doing as well as performed, you may not want to hold on for too long, waiting for that return on investment to ever happen, because sometimes it's better just to get your cash back quicker than before, and then just reinvest it into another opportunity that might actually accelerate your cash flow again. So some prime example I have here is like when I started Lego journey, I saw some Lego architecture set, particularly the London, New York, and Paris skyline. These ones have been around forever. They're not due to retire anytime soon. The London one at one point had a price decrease here in the UK, which kind of really hurt me. But now I'm just looking at like, can I just get my money back on these sets, because they're not due to retire for God knows how long. I've got quite a few of them. Maybe I can just get that cash back and then actually invest into something else that it's going to be winners, and make some better investment decisions. And again, as well, I think this is a bit more of a prudent thing. Like Lego investing now is a big topic. It often, makes the news in certain areas, and more people are trying to jump onto it. Is this Lego investing journey going to be as lucrative in the long run all the time? We don't know, but I would say you got to be sure to be prepared for any market dynamics to change. And this means that perhaps We've already seen the economy change. That will potentially have an impact on people buying Lego in the future. But if you're relying on this on an income, make sure, what will you do if this suddenly were to stop? Don't go digging too deep again. It's diversify, and don't just rely on Lego investing alone, because hopefully we don't have to think about it, and long may it continue. But always, again, prepare for plan B. And then final step, number 10, is it all worth it? What do you guys think? Well, clearly I think it's worth it because I'm investing my time, but I kind of put it down to 4 things that you need to, 4 criteria that you need to meet. So first of all, and don't underestimate this, is your time and dedication. You need to spend a lot of time and dedication to do keep up with all the latest news, and do your research for the Lego investing, but also keeping up with all the latest Lego deals. You want to be buying at the best price possible, and sometimes you bought a set and then a week later it's even available for a further discount. You might want to buy more to lower your average buying price. So keeping up to date with all that is very important. Again, is having a sales plan. As I already mentioned at the beginning of this video, so many people get into Lego investing, buying some Lego sets, but have no clue on how they're going to sell it. They're like, oh, well, I'll just list it on eBay and see how it goes. But that's not a real strategy. You just really need to think through, understand, what the fees are on every platform, how easy it is to sell, understand what the cost of shipping is and everything like that. Just do all those pieces of analysis before you can set a price, because people sometimes undercut each other and then they realize that they've sold the set and they made, hardly any profit on it. Is it really worth your time to do that? Think about your time as well, that you have to take into consideration for doing this. Make sure you have storage availability, and making sure, if you're going to start this, make sure perhaps you're going to look at, a spare room in your house or some spare space that you have in your house. That's obviously the ideal way to get started. But as you grow, think about where you're going to grow. You are going to want to grow for sure. As I said already, it's very addictive. But make sure you do have some kind of plans ahead of how you're going to store and keep it in the best optimal condition as much as you can. And I think the next final point is pretty much with any sort of business, you need to have some discipline, whether it's from like financial discipline or, just making sure you stick to your processes. And really, it's easy to buy the Lego, but sometimes you just have to say no. Again, also, have the discipline to like deal with customers and everything like that, because sometimes you'll feel like you're getting scammed, but at the end of the day you just have to bite the bullet and deal with returns and things like that. So it's all very important to have the right discipline for this Lego investing journey. So yeah, there you have the 10 steps that I've come up with from a Lego investment perspective. If I've missed out anything obvious, or if you have any comments, let me know in the comment section below this video. If you really enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. There will be more videos like this coming up. But yeah, that's it for me. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye for now.